Brothers and sisters, let me ask you a question. What if I told you that in the heart of Africa, in a land the world once mocked as poor and powerless, a light has been lit so powerful that it will not only shine across Burkina Faso, but across all of West Africa? What if I told you that a nation they once tried to bury in poverty and dependency has risen hand in hand with a global power? To declare that the days of begging for electricity, the days of living in darkness, the days of waiting for the West to decide when Africa breathes are over? Tonight, we stand at the edge of history. A $90 billion solar energy megaproject, the largest in the history of our continent, is being built. Not by Europe, not by America, but by Africans and their partners of choice. This is not charity. This is not aid. This is not the crumbs of colonizers tossed to the hungry. This is Africa's own inheritance, the sun above us, finally being turned into power for Africans, by Africans, on African terms. Do you hear what I am saying? This project will not only electrify our homes, it will electrify our dignity. It will not only light up our schools, it will light up our future. It will not only power factories, it will power independence. From Dakar to Lagos, from Bamako to Niamey, from Ouagadougou to Accra, Africa will glow, not in the shadow of foreign corporations, but in the brilliance of her own sun. For centuries, they told us we were too weak to rise, too divided to unite, too dependent to be free. They made us believe that electricity, the very oxygen of modern life, had to come through their companies, their aid, their conditions. But today, with this solar revolution, Africa declares to the world, we no longer borrow our breath, we breathe freely. So I ask you, will you sit quietly and watch history pass you by, or will you stand and witness the rebirth of a continent? Stay with me until the very last word, because what is happening in Burkina Faso today will change the destiny of every African tomorrow.
Brothers and sisters of Africa, sons and daughters of the sun, I welcome you to a moment that history will never forget. Today, the winds of destiny blow not from Washington, not from Paris, not from London, but from Ouagadougou, the beating heart of Africa's awakening. Today, we speak not of dependency, not of aid, not of chains disguised as contracts, but of liberation written in light, drawn from the sun itself, and anchored in the soil of West Africa. Burkina Faso and China have joined hands in a way that has shaken the very foundation of global power. Together, they have signed a $90 billion solar energy mega-project, an agreement so bold, so visionary, and so defiant that it has left the West trembling in disbelief. This is not just another deal. This is not another trade agreement buried under the weight of hidden clauses and exploitative terms. No, this is Africa declaring to the world, we will power ourselves. We will no longer bow to foreign oil, foreign gas, and foreign electricity grids. The sun belongs to Africa, and from today forward, the sun will be our freedom. Imagine, my brothers and sisters, a West Africa where every village, every city, every home, every school, and every hospital has power, not borrowed power from France, not purchased power from Europe, but power drawn from the endless rays of the African sun. Picture children studying under bright lights in classrooms without the hum of a dying generator. Picture hospitals where machines never shut down because of blackouts. Picture industries rising, powered by clean, renewable African energy, turning our region into a global hub of production, innovation, and prosperity. The world is stunned because for decades they told us Africa could never do this. They told us we were too poor, too backward, too disorganized to dream of such things. They told us we must remain chained to their oil markets, their fossil fuels, their expensive imports, their World Bank loans, their IMF dictates. But today, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali have already lit the torch of sovereignty by rejecting Western domination. And now, Burkina Faso and China have struck the match that will ignite an energy revolution across the continent. The numbers alone are breathtaking. $90 billion invested directly into the soil of West Africa. Thousands of square kilometers of solar farms spread across the Sahel, soaking up the fierce African sun. Power lines stretching across borders lighting Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Senegal, Benin, Togo, and beyond. Employment for millions of our people, training for African engineers, ownership for African states. This is not colonial extraction. This is partnership, a partnership of equals. And make no mistake, this deal is not just about energy. It is about power in the deepest sense of the word. For too long, Europe and America have controlled Africa by controlling what keeps the lights on. They controlled our oil, they controlled our gas. And when we needed electricity, they told us, we will build it for you, but you will owe us forever. Today, that control is broken. Burkina Faso has said no, China has said yes, and Africa has said, we will rise. Of course, my brothers and sisters, the West is furious. They cannot believe that a small landlocked country, dismissed for decades as one of the poorest in the world, has dared to write such a monumental story. They cannot believe that Captain Ibrahim, a man they once mocked as too young, has stood on the global stage and told the world that Africa will power itself. And they cannot believe that China, instead of exploiting Africa, has chosen to invest in a future where Africans hold the switch to their own destiny. In Paris, in Washington, in Brussels, they whisper behind closed doors. They say, what will happen if Africa is no longer dependent on us for oil, gas, and electricity? What will happen if Africa no longer begs us for loans to build its grids? What will happen if Africa becomes the green energy capital of the world? And I will tell you, brothers and sisters, what will happen. Africa will stand tall. Africa will negotiate on equal terms. Africa will no longer be a continent of beggars, but a continent of partners. This project is more than solar panels and power plants. It is a declaration of war on poverty, on darkness, on dependency. It is the first step towards an Africa that feeds itself, powers itself, heals itself, and governs itself. Burkina Faso is no longer just a country. It is now a symbol of African possibility, and China, whether you like them or not, has chosen to stand on the side of history. When the West built its wealth, it did so on the backs of African slaves and the plunder of African resources. Today, Africa is building its wealth on the power of its own sun. Do you see the beauty of this? We are turning what God freely gave us into the foundation of our freedom. No one can sanction the sun. No one can cut off our rays. No one can control the skies above Africa. This is our eternal advantage, and finally, we are using it. Let me speak directly to the youth of Africa, the 70% of this continent who are under the age of 30. This project is for you. It is your inheritance, your future, your shield against exploitation. You have grown up in the darkness of blackouts, the frustration of no internet because the power is down, the humiliation of watching. Your parents beg foreign companies for light. But today, Burkina Faso is showing you that another world is possible, and not tomorrow, not in some distant dream, but now, in your lifetime. To the skeptics who say this cannot work, I remind you that they said the same thing about Africa freeing itself from colonialism. They said the same thing about independence. They said the same thing when Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger expelled France. And yet, here we stand, stronger than before. They will say solar energy cannot power a continent. But I tell you, the sun has always powered Africa. Our ancestors farmed with it, lived by it, worshipped it, and respected it. Today, we turn that same sun into megawatts and industries. This is not science fiction. This is science Africanized. This is just the beginning, my brothers and sisters. The earth trembles because Africa has chosen light over darkness, dignity over dependency, sovereignty over submission. The $90 billion deal is the torch. Now we must carry it across the continent. Burkina Faso has spoken. West Africa is listening. The world is watching. And to the West, I say this. You cannot stop this. You cannot sanction the sun. You cannot bomb solar panels in every African country. You cannot destroy an idea whose time has come, and the time for Africa to power itself has come.
Brothers and sisters, let us not underestimate the immensity of what is being built. This $90 billion solar energy mega project is not a mere collection of panels and wires. It is a continent-wide transformation of destiny. It is an economic revolution clothed in sunlight. It is a political statement louder than any speech, because true power will now flow from African soil, not foreign corporations. Do you understand what it means when Burkina Faso, a nation once dismissed as poor, stands at the center of such a project? It means that the narrative of Africa as weak and dependent is collapsing before our very eyes. It means the world must rewrite its textbooks and its policies. It means that every African child will grow up knowing that greatness is possible from the smallest of nations, from the humblest of beginnings, if only there is courage. Now let us speak of the economics. For decades, Africa has lost billions importing electricity through foreign-owned grids, or buying oil and gas at inflated prices, or watching multinational companies control our energy infrastructure. With this solar mega project, we cut those chains. Energy will no longer drain Africa's wealth. Energy will generate Africa's wealth. Industries will rise across West Africa, powered by clean electricity that belongs to the people. Think of it, Burkina Faso's farmers will no longer lose crops because they cannot refrigerate food. Mali's hospitals will no longer shut down operating rooms because of blackouts. Niger's schools will no longer end lessons early because there is no light. In Ghana, Senegal, and Togo, factories will no longer slow production because generators failed. This project unlocks the chains of underdevelopment. It places in our hands the key to industrialization, and with industrialization comes jobs, millions of jobs. Not just laborers to build solar farms, but engineers, researchers, technicians, electricians, manufacturers. A new generation of African scientists will emerge, trained to harness the power of the sun not for the benefit of foreigners, but for Africa itself. Our youth, long told to flee to Europe for opportunity, will now see opportunity right here in Ouagadougou, in Bamako, in Niamey, in Accra, in Dakar. The geopolitical impact cannot be ignored. For too long, Europe and America have controlled Africa by dangling electricity and fuel like a carrot while holding debt like a whip. Today, that whip snaps in half. They cannot control what they cannot own. The sun is Africa's inheritance, not Europe's to sell back to us. With this project, Burkina Faso and China have destroyed one of the last chains of colonial dependency. And of course, they are furious. They will say China is trapping Africa with debt. They will shout on their televisions that Burkina Faso is selling out to Beijing. But the truth is clear. The only trap Africa has known is the West's. The only chains Africa has worn are Europe's. China did not colonize us. China is not dictating our laws. China is offering what the West never offered, partnership on our terms. Make no mistake, brothers and sisters, this partnership is not charity. China gains, Africa gains, but the difference is this. Africa gains first, Africa gains more, Africa gains sovereignty. For once, we are not negotiating from weakness, but from strength. For once, we are not being told what we must do, but deciding for ourselves what we will do, and that decision is to power all of West Africa with our own sun. Now let us address the deeper meaning of this project. It is not only about energy, it is about freedom. Energy is the oxygen of modern civilization. Without it, no nation can breathe. With it, everything becomes possible. That is why the West has controlled our oxygen for so long. They made sure we could never breathe on our own. But today, Burkina Faso, with China at its side, has built the lungs of West Africa. From these lungs, the continent will breathe free. To our enemies, this project is dangerous, because a self-sufficient Africa is an Africa that cannot be manipulated, an Africa that cannot be bribed, an Africa that cannot be starved into submission, an Africa that can say no without fear of punishment. That is why they tremble, that is why they scream, that is why they threaten, but they cannot stop the sun. And to the youth of Africa, I say this again. This project belongs to you. It is your generation that will manage it, expand it, and guard it against sabotage. You must be vigilant, for the enemies of Africa will not sit quietly as we liberate ourselves. They will try to destabilize governments. They will spread propaganda. They will try to buy traitors among us. But you, the youth, must defend this solar revolution as you would defend your own breath. Let us also remember, this is only the beginning. Today, Burkina Faso and China light West Africa. Tomorrow, East Africa. Next, Central Africa. Then Southern Africa. Until the whole continent shines not just with sunlight but with sovereignty. This is not one deal. This is the seed of a continental transformation, the seed of Pan-African energy independence. And what of those who doubt? Let them doubt. They doubted when Africa fought colonialism. They doubted when Africa declared independence. They doubted when Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali expelled foreign troops, and they doubt now. But history has always proved them wrong. Africa has always risen, no matter how deep the chains. And today, Africa rises again. Now let me close with this. My brothers and sisters, we are living in a new dawn. The chains of dependency are breaking, one by one. The West has lost its grip, and Africa has found its footing. Burkina Faso, with China as a partner, has given us more than solar panels. It has given us proof that we are not too weak, not too poor, not too late. Proof that Africa can stand tall, can negotiate boldly, can dream grandly, and can achieve impossibilities. This project is not the end, it is the beginning of an Africa where our children never again know the sting of darkness, the beginning of an Africa that powers itself, feeds itself, heals itself, and leads itself. The beginning of an Africa that is respected not because of what others took from us, but because of what we built ourselves. So to the leaders of West Africa, I say, join this vision. To the people of Africa, I say, protect this vision. To the youth of Africa, I say, carry this vision. And to the world, I say, behold Africa's light, for it will never go out again. The sun has always risen over Africa, but today, for the first time, Africa rises with the sun.